Good evening, all. Am I audible to all of you? Am I
Yes,
audible?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Okay, in the previous class, what we have discussed till now, that is what is the aim of higher education and how higher education is related to society and how higher education is going to help society, and what is the legacy of higher education to carry forward in our nation. And also we have discussed the constitutional provisions regarding Indian higher education starting from the colonial period to the present status. So let me share my PPT so that we can discuss from the plan and non-plan grants. We were discussing about the arrangements in state and central level, and in in this heading we will discuss about the plan and non-plan grants today. Okay, now I think it is visible. So we have already discussed what were the constitutional provisions regarding Indian higher education. We have discussed among them what is the arrangement of higher education in the colonial period, and what are the central provisions, state provisions, what is the coordination mechanism at the center, what is the coordination mechanism in the state, then UGC. About UGC we have discussed in detail, and in this we will discuss now. MHRD also we have discussed yesterday, then objectives also. Today we will start from this plan and non-plan grants. So what is plan grant and what is non-plan grant? First of all, when a plan is made, developmental plan is made or set, at that time some budget is placed for the developmental plan. And when that plan, that activity is over, at that time the non-plan grant or non-plan budget comes into function. Okay, so these are the two sets of activities for budgeting purpose. Suppose you are constructing a building, and after completion, this is coming under the plan grant, and when the building construction is complete and it continues, you continues to maintain it, then you will get the grants in the non-plan head. So non-plan head is otherwise also called as maintenance budget, and the plan head is also called as the developmental budget. So this is all about the plan and non-plan grants. And in our state or in central provision also you can find there are plan and non-plan grants both. Under both heading, every organization is supplying budget. So it is saying that the development budget, actually in practice, the difference is that the plan budget provides for growth, diversification, and innovation, while the non plan grant takes care of the sustenance or maintenance of the ongoing system. So, the funding of higher education actually comes from the state. The major part of the funding comes from the state. Only the central universities only receive their maintenance grant from the UGC, and other grants are funded by the state government. Similarly, the agriculture universities also receive the central fund. The technical universities, AICT, and engineering faculties also, um, and other university also get assistance through UGC. And it is exceptional to two exceptional cases we have also discussed yesterday: the MCI, Medical Council of India, and another is your agriculture sector. They get in different head. So you can say that MCI and Ministry of Health, medical colleges are related to the MCI and Ministry of Health, but there is no satisfactory arrangement for giving them proper support. So, out of 18 central universities, 16 are allocated different developmental grant, while you can find the 14 are being allocated with maintenance grant in addition to development grant. So university UGC ସମସ୍ତଙ୍କୁ ସବୁ grant ଦିଏନି, କାହାକୁ ଦବ ନା ସେ ଦେଖିବ ଯେ who qualifies the criteria, who qualifies the norm of the university according UGC, then it will allocate the grant to them only, who are eligible for developmental grant or who are eligible for the maintenance grant. The next part is what are the different issues related to higher education. The other issues are two main issues are identified here. One is your amendment issue, another is your judicial review issue. So, what is that amendment issue? After the imposition of emergency in 1975, the constitution was amended in a number of respects, and this was done in 1976 through the 42nd amendment, and the provision was to take education in the concurrent subject. So the provision to make education in the concurrent subject, this is in the 42nd amendment. Higher education in any case was partly central, but for the provision of coordination and standard. But now the entire field of education from primary to university level become a concurrent subject. That we have also discussed yesterday, that what is concurrent list and what is central and state list. And what is about the judicial review? The judicial review and higher education, we know that with regard to higher education, a number of judgments have been given by the courts. The most important of them was in 1963 in respect of decision by Gujarat University to make Gujarati the sole medium of instruction and examination. And this decision was challenged by the students. The Supreme Court laid down the since medium of instruction had a direct bearing on academic standard, this decision of Gujarat University could hurt that objective. Hence, the decision of Gujarat University was declared ultra vires. It was rejected that the medium of instruction cannot be only the state language. Next, we will come to the NAC. As we in the present day, we all are aware about the NAC, National Accreditation and Assessment Council. And National Accreditation and Assessment Council is an autonomous council which comes under the UGC to carry out periodical assessment of universities and colleges in the country. And before it was not mandatory, but now after implementation of NEP 2020, it is mandatory for all the higher education institution to be accredited by NAC. So the how the NAC assessment is done? The NAC assessment is a self appraisal by the university or college on the basis of specified parameters. Some parameters are given in the NAC guidelines. The university or the higher education institute will appraise themselves and document its performance with reference to each of them. They will document each and every activity of the institution, and that will be submitted during NAC assessment. And also the NAC assess the performance by an expert committee. There is an expert committee who come for assessment on the basis of the proofs identified in respect of each parameter. Parameters are given or decided previously. So a peer review of self-appraisal and expert evaluation is also there, and a judgment of the performance is also there. And now recently it has made some modifications there in the NAC guidelines, and there is a provision of online assessment also. You will appraise yourself, and then they will assess you on the basis of your appraisal, and they will assign the grade. So NAC has developed the instruments for carrying out the evaluation studies, and several universities and colleges have offered themselves for this assessment. Then the NAC functions through its General Council and Executive Committee (GC and AC), comprising educational administrator, policymakers, and senior academician from a cross section of Indian higher education system. The chairperson of UGC is the president of General Council of the NAC. The chairperson of Executive Committee is an eminent academician nominated by the President of General Council. The director is the academic and administrative head of NAC and is the member secretary of both GC and EC. In addition to the statutory body that steer its policies and core staff to support its activities, NAC is advised by the advisory and consultative committees constituted from time to time. Similarly, the AICTE Act 1988 also envisages the establishment of accreditation mechanism. So, after an implementation of NEP 2020, accreditation mechanism is going to be strengthened. And recently, you might have also heard some news like this. Some people are involved in tempering the grade, so they were arrested also. This is the recent news. Then next we will proceed to the okay, another body we have discussed yesterday, that is State Council of Higher Education. Then we will proceed to policy perspective. The State Council of Higher Education, when it was suggested, recommended by the policy to establish State Council of Higher Education in each state, but all state did not establish the State Council of SCHE, did not establish the SCHE, and but some state established the State Council, like your Andhra Pradesh, but and also they executed SCHE for planning purpose and for rationalizing funding purpose and to assist UGC. This was the purpose of establishing the State Council of Higher Education. But later it does not sustain, and the concept does not persist now. So next we will proceed to the policy perspective in higher education. So the policy, when we will say the policy perspective, what we will do here, the policy perspective, you will know that what are the major landmarks in the evolution of the policy in the higher education. There are different policy. ଆପଣ ଜାଣିଛନ୍ତି ଯେ different policy ଆମର 48 49 ରୁ ଆରମ୍ଭ ହେଇଛି. ତ identify the major landmarks in the evolution of the policy in higher education. Then we will discuss, you will know about the what are the prevailing policies and what are the different thrust areas in higher education in India. Then you will understand the problems of implementation of these policy. Policy is there, but whether it has been implemented successfully or not, what are the problems of implementation, then, what are the gaps that exist between policy pronouncement and realized goals? Policy recommendation and realized goal, whether it is achieved or not. When we will discuss the policies one by one, what were the recommendations of different policies, and what is the status, why they fail to implemented fully. So these things we will discuss one by one, starting from the 48-49 policy to the NEP 2020. So when India got independence at that time, it was the bare need at that time to restructure higher education to meet the manpower requirement for the growing economy. So that's why a strategy need to be developed, need to be adopted for this purpose. So to meet the need of the growing economy, some strategies were decided to restructure the higher education. So the first strategy they have adopted, that is, they provide education to all up to the age of 14. Then eradicate adult illiteracy. Then link the education to the world of work and strengthen research and development rules. So these things, these strategies were thought of at that time to restructure the higher education. So after that, in 1800, 1948-49, as we all know that the University Education Commission 1948-49 was established in the independent India under the chairmanship of Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, who was a distinguished educationist and later became the President of India. So, what were the major recommendation of the University Education Commission? First recommendation was based on the aims of education. What should be the aim of education? The aim of education should be to awaken the innate ability to live and to train citizen for democracy and self-development, and to acquaint individual with their cultural heritage, and to impart to them professional and vocational training. It was there in the recommendation of University Education Commission, but you people have to think, you have to compare. As we will proceed our discussion, then you have to compare what is there in 48-49 policy, what is there in 64-66 policy, and whether the recommendations are carried forward or recommendations and goals are in one line. That you have to think of. The next recommendation was on the basis of on agriculture. The commission emphasized that the role of study of agriculture in an agrarian economy like India. It suggested that special attention should be paid to the development of higher education in rural areas, and it also suggested that on the basis of critical studies about the nature and type of manpower requirement, the scientific and technical base of educational system should be strengthened, and um, this is the identification. When a policy is formulated or when a policy recommends something, at that time, before that, it go to the field, make some research, some critical studies are made, and after that it recommends something. So similarly, it also, this policy also makes some critical studies about the rural areas, and it was thought that, or it was recommended that, the agricultural studies should be emphasized, and also the higher education should be emphasized in the rural areas also. It should not be in the urban areas only. So it need to be emphasized. Then next recommendation was on the postgraduate research. The Commission emphasized the role of postgraduate research and training for the advancement of the country. It suggested that PhD scholars should emphasize both on the breadth and width of knowledge. They should not have narrow specialization. This was the recommendation regarding postgraduate research. Next recommendation was to avoid overcrowding of at universities and colleges should be avoided, and the number of working days should be increased. In the critical studies, they have found that the number of working days in the universities were less than 120 days. So they recommended there that it should be increased to minimum of 180 days, and overcrowding at universities or colleges should be avoided. That means, why overcrowding? It means that you do not take all the people to the university or higher education. Take those people who are skilled, who are interested to work for the society, then take them. That's why entrance system or something like this was there to um, bring them to the college or university level. The next recommendation was based on the medium of instruction in Indian languages. It was also there in the 48 49. If you will observe carefully, then you can find that NEP 2020 is also emphasizing on this, and this is not new. This was started from the 48-49 policy also. The realizing the importance of medium of instruction, the Commission recommended that English as a medium of instruction in higher education should be replaced as early as possible by the Indian languages. It was the recommendation of 48-49 policy. Then university degree should not be required for government administrative service, etc. So for administrative service, no university study is necessary. Then who will go to the university to study? Those who are interested for research, they will go to the university level. That was the motto. Special state examination for recruitment to various state services should be organized. Then realizing the deficiencies of examination system and magnitude of wastage, the commission also recommended a thorough study of scientific methods of educational testing and appraisal. The University Education Commission also recommended the completion of 12 years of study. After completion of 12 years of study at a school or an intermediate college, it should be the minimum standard for admission into the university. So these are some of the recommendations regarding the related to higher education. Then we will proceed to the next education commission, that is your 64-66 commission. But in the mean period, there was a commission, that is, what is that commission? 52 commission or secondary education commission was there, but in as we are discussing the higher education system, then that's why it is skipped. We have skipped this. The education commission 64-66. So the education commission 64-66 was headed by Professor D.S. Kothari, And the main function of the commission was to advise the government on the national pattern of education and to suggest the general principle and policies for development of education at all stages and in all aspects. So mainly the idea here in 1964-66 policy that national pattern of education need to be developed. This was there in their mind. So national development was much more emphasized in this commission. National objective of education. So main objective of the commission was first one, as I said, national system of education should be there, and the aim of this education commission is to develop a national system of education, keeping in view the values and tradition of India as suited to the needs and aspiration of our modern society. See the aim. This is what NEP is saying, recommending now, that we are thinking that this is new, but the idea was there from the very beginning in the 64-66 commission. Okay. Then another aim or objective of the commission was that new social order. This is another aim of the commission, to create a new social order based on freedom, equality, and justice. And to achieve this objective, they have some requirements, and they thought that this requirement should be fulfilled through reorganization of education. So this is another objective. First objective was national system of education. Second objective was new social order. Third objective, they have taken qualitative and quantitative education at all level. They have told that the both qualitative and quantitative improvement in education and its quantitative expansion is very essential to fulfill the aim of education. So it goes without saying that the motive behind the appointment of this commission was to bring qualitative improvement in education at all level. Quantitative expansion of education was also to be dealt with simultaneously to eradicate illiteracy. So they targeted like this, quality and quantity we will go simultaneously. The next aim was education as a key to national prosperity and welfare. They assigns priority to education as the key to national prosperity and welfare and productive investment. The expenditure on education is treated as investment that yields greater returns and bring about real prosperity. They have understood that concept, that education is an investment, not a loss. Survey the entire field of education. They also another aim was to survey the entire field of education. So the aim of the commission is to survey the entire field of education and recommend ways and means to view education comprehensively and not as a fragmented system. Gain experience and knowledge of the world. So that was also the objective. The national development was finally the aim of the commission is to achieve national development through education. For this purpose, the commission emphasized science education and vocational education. So these were the aims of the objectives of the 64-66 commission, or you can say Kothari commission. And what were the recommendation of the commission? The first objective, national objective of education, and for achieving the national objective of education, they have suggested certain programs, like they aimed to increase the productivity, they aimed to for social and national integration, modernization, development of social, moral, and spiritual values. So to how we can achieve this national objective, so they have make these strategies, like they want to increase the productivity means how the productivity can be increased. The education is necessary for increasing productivity. So how education is going to increase the productivity? Now, it must be related to productivity in all fields in to increase national income. So the commission suggested some programs like your science education, work experience, vocationalization, of education, application of science in production. So it recommended that education can help in increasing productivity through science education. You have to improve the scientific and techno production based on scientific and technological method. Work experience, you have to put it there in the course, and participation in productive work in school or at home, in workshop, in farm, factory, or any other place in a productive situation. So, and the work experience must be introduced as an integrated part of all education system. Then next thing what it has emphasized, that is vocationalization of education. Vocationalization, by saying vocationalization, the commission means that the opportunity should be provided at the secondary and senior secondary stage for vocational course to develop their interests, skill and capacities in various vocational fields. So it is essential to achieve the aim of increasing the productivity. Their target, ତାଙ୍କ ଟାର୍ଗେଟ୍ ଥିଲା ଯେ ଆମେ ପ୍ରଡକ୍ଟିଭିଟି ବଢ଼େଇବା, କେମିତି ବଢ଼େଇବା ନା ଡିଫରେଣ୍ଟ ଆମେ ଏଜୁକେସନ୍ ଥ୍ରୁରେ ବଢ଼େଇବା। ଏଜୁକେସନ୍ କେମିତି ହେଲ୍ପ କରିବ ନା ଆମେ ସାଇନ୍ସ ଏଜୁକେସନ୍ ଦେବା, ସାଇନ୍ସ ଟେକ୍ନୋଲୋଜିକୁ ଏମ୍ଫାସିସ୍ ଦେବା, ୱାର୍କ ଏକ୍ସପିରିଏନ୍ସକୁ ଇଣ୍ଟିଗ୍ରେଟ୍ କରିବା, ଭୋକେସନାଲାଇଜେସନ୍ କରିବା ସେକେଣ୍ଡାରୀ ଏଜୁକେସନ୍ର, ଯେଉଁଟା ଏନ୍ଇପି ଏବେ ସେଇ କଥା ଗୁଡ଼ାକୁ ବି ଆଣିଛି। ତାର ଆମେ ମଦର କହିପାରିବା ଯେ ମଦର ଅଫ୍ ଏଇ ଯେଉଁ ଏନ୍ଇପି 2020 ମଧ୍ୟ ଇଏ ହେଇପାରେ, ଏଇ ରେକମେଣ୍ଡେସନ୍ ସେଠି ମଧ୍ୟ ଥିଲା, ଯେଉଁଟା ଏନ୍ଇପି 2020 ଏବେ ତାକୁ ଯେହେତୁ ଫୁଲଫିଲ୍ ହେଇପାରିନି ବା ଗୋଲ୍ରେ ସେ ପହଞ୍ଚି ପାରିନି, ସେଥିରୁ ସେ ପୁଣି ଷ୍ଟଡି ଯେତେବେଳେ କଲେ ତାକୁ ପୁଣି ଅଣାହେଇଛି ଏନ୍ଇପି 2020କୁ। Then application of science in production, the modern age as a age of science, it was also emphasized to apply science in the field of production. Then social national integration, the commission also recommended the social and national integration should be one of the aim of education which is necessary for the progress of the country. And another major word arose from that commission's recommendation, that is common school. So what is the meaning of common school? The common school means the school which is common, which common for all children, irrespective of caste, color, creed, community, religion, etc., economic and social status, etc. It is common school system first introduced इतरे करागला. Then social and national service was also its recommendation. The commission indicated that there is an increase of gap between the educated and the uneducated classes, and between intellectuals and common people in the present education system, and this gap is very dangerous for our national unity. That was identified by the commission, and in order to eliminate this gap, the social and national service should be made compulsory at the secondary stage. For at least 30 days, social service must be there. The commission also said that some form of social and national service should be made obligatory for all students and should form an integral part of education at all stages. And for this purpose, it suggests that the students should be encouraged to participate in the community life of the school or the college, and opportunity must be created for them to participate in the social and national service. ସେଠି national service କଥା ଆସିଛି ତମର NSS ଯେଉଁ ଆସିଲା, ସେତେବେଳେ social national service କଥା ଯେହେତୁ ପଲିସି ରେକମେଣ୍ଡ କଲା, ତେଣୁ ସେଠି NSS ର କନସେପ୍ଟ ଆସିଲା. Then appropriate language policy was also recommended. The appropriate language policy, how it will help? It will help in social and national integration. The mother tongue should be the medium of instruction for all level of education. The regional language should be made the language of administration. The teaching of English should be continued right from the school stage. English will be a link language of higher education for academic work and intellectual intercommunication. Hindi should take the place in due course of time. So language policy now also you can find in NEP 2020, but it was there in 64-66 also. But how the gap is created, why these recommendations cannot be applied to achieve the goals, so that after 64, 66, already now how many years up to 2020, 20, 40, 60 years has gone. After 60 years we are now also emphasizing on these recommendations what is there in the NEP 2020 in the new form. Then another recommendation was promoting national consciousness. The promotion of national consciousness is necessary for national integration, and this can be done through re-evaluation of cultural heritage. So a well organized teaching of language, literature, philosophy, religion, history and elite subject it can inculcate democratic values in young minds and help them work for national development. So that type of national consciousness was to be created through the education. Then another modernization was there due to the advancement of science and technology. The India was progressing towards modernization. So as a result of knowledge explosion, we need to modernize the students in thought, belief, and knowledge. So knowledge expansion also was an important area. Education should keep pace with this growing knowledge in order to remove obstacles in the process of modernization. Then there should be curiosity for change. Curiosity for change, ଯେମିତି ଆମେ ଆଜିକା ଡେଟ୍ରେ କହୁ ଯେ ଆମେ 21st ସେଞ୍ଚୁରୀ ସ୍କିଲ୍ ଏକ୍ୱାର କରିବା କଥା କହୁଛୁ, କିନ୍ତୁ ଆମର ମାଇଣ୍ଡ ସେଟ୍ କୋଉଠି ଅଛି ନା, ମାଇଣ୍ଡ ସେଟ୍ ଯୋଉଠି ଥିଲା ପୂର୍ବରୁ ସେ 18th ସେଞ୍ଚୁରୀ କି ଆଉ ତା ପୂର୍ବରୁ ଅଛି, କିନ୍ତୁ ଆମେ 21st ସେଞ୍ଚୁରୀ ଏକ୍ୱାର କରିବା କଥା ଏବେ କହୁଛୁ. ସୋ we should have a mindset, we should have a mindset to change, we should have a curiosity for change. Curiosity, as we know that curiosity, if you have the curiosity then you can acquire knowledge. Education should create curiosity of investigation through the development of proper interest, sentiments, attitude, which are needed for developing the power of clear thinking and decision making in the students. And you can find all these things in NEP 2020. If you go and compare, then you can find all these recommendations, and you can say that, you can analyze that what is the gap, where is the gap. So before 60 years this was the thought of Indians, and also after 60 years we are running after this. Then it has emphasized on new social order, the education, a system of education based upon scientific, technological, cultural basis can contribute much towards the creation of a new social order, and uh, through that we can meet our constitutional goals of individual freedom, equality, and social justice. And social, moral, and spiritual values must be inculcated among the learner, so that we can say that the national system of education or national objective of education can be achieved. So these were the some of the recommendations regarding education in 64 66 commission. Then other recommendations are also there, like your educational structure कौन हवा दरकार थिला, standard कौन हवा दरकार थिला. जेमती कि ये recommend करथिला general education last for a period of 10 years, 4 years of lower primary, 3 years of higher primary, 3 years of lower secondary. Like this, it has also given some structure, but this structure was not implemented. 10 plus 2 plus 3 system was implemented only. Then teacher status, teacher education, equalization of educational opportunities, then expansion of school education, then curriculum, what should be the curriculum, it is also in recommendation, and what should be the method of teaching, like your language policy, how the language policy will be implemented, what we have discussed about the language policy, how the textbook should be, how adult education can be operated, agricultural education, your education for handicapped and gifted. At that time the terms were like this, handicapped and gifted. Then how to guide the make success the guidance and counseling program, then evaluation, infrastructure, administration, supervision, and these were some of the recommendations. And every type of recommendation has its own definitions, and you can go for the document in detail. Then, what were the positive points and what were the negative, or you can say demerits of the commission? The merits of the commission was that national system of education. It has recommended for a national system of education, and the commission also presents a comprehensive approach to educational problems in the context of national needs and situation. This was the positive point or merit, we can say. Then another merit was education as a key to economic growth, and the commission made a link between education and economic growth, social and national service. It is also there, and foundation of national education policy. Then the scale of pay was also emphasized there, equalization of educational opportunities for women, or you can say the disadvantaged group, or backward or tribal areas. Then priorities marked intelligently. The commission was intelligently marked priorities, that is to reform the present education system and make it a powerful tool for achieving social, cultural, economic development. Okay. So these were some of the merits or plus points or positive side of the commission 64-66. And what are the demerits? What happened? What were the drawbacks? Drawbacks was the position of school heads were ignored in this commission, and had been left undecided by the commission in its new educational plan. So if school heads will not be strengthened, then how the schools will work properly, what are there in the recommendation? Then the language policy, the commission expressed conflicting and contradicting views regarding language. Both Hindi and English should be the medium of instruction in all the Indian institutions. The three language formula operates in favor of English and to disadvantage of Hindi. English has become the sole medium of higher studies and competitive examination. So there is a gap is created. So due to faulty language policy, it cannot be implemented. Then basic education was ignored, which introduced by Mahatma Gandhi, and basic education was essential for personality development and economic growth. Then inadequate explanation of division of primary stage, then vocationalization, the concept of vocationalization and work experience have been left, and as much attention is not paid in higher education. So ସେଥିପାଇଁ ଏବେ ପୁଣି ଏନ୍ଇପିରେ ତାକୁ ଅଣା ହେଲା, ଯୋଉଟା ଆମେ କହିଲୁ ଯେ what is the gap. ତେଣୁ ସେବେ ପୁଣି ଏଇସବୁ ଡିମେରିଟ୍ସ ଗୁଡ଼ାକ ଥିଲା ଯୋଉଟାକୁ ଆଡ୍ରେସ୍ କରାଯାଇ ପାରିଲାନି। ଯେହେତୁ ଆଡ୍ରେସ୍ କରାଯାଇ ପାରିଲାନି, ପୁଣି ଆମେ ଏନ୍ଇପି 2020 ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆସିଲା ସେଇ ସବୁ କଥା ଗୁଡ଼ାକୁ ଦେଖାଗଲା ଯେ ଦିଜ୍ ଆର୍ ଦ ଗୁଡ୍ ପଏଣ୍ଟସ୍ ଫର୍ ଦ ନ୍ୟାସନାଲ ଡେଭଲପମେଣ୍ଟ, ବଟ୍ these were not implemented. That's why now it is also placed in NEP 2020's recommendation. So 64-66, you have another national policy on education, that is your 1968. Actually, the national policy on education was first of all framed in 1968, and what happened next we will discuss. So based on the recommendation of Education Commission, a resolution on national policy on education was formally adopted by the Parliament in 1968. The principles in the national policy on education aimed to promote what? To promote national progress, a sense of common citizenship and culture, and strengthen national integration. So these were also the aim here in 1968 policy. The policy laid considerable emphasis on reorganization of courses at the first degree level. Then the what are the different aspects of higher education which were specifically highlighted in 1968 policy? As we are discussing about the higher education part, so we will only say what are the different aspects of higher education which were specifically highlighted in the policy 1968. Just a minute. So, what are the different aspect of higher education? The number of full-time students to be admitted to a college or university department should be determined with reference to the laboratory, library, and other facilities available in the institution and the strength of staff also. So, the demand for higher education will be much larger than the provision that can be made for it or is needed on the basis of manpower requirement. The system of selective admission will have to be adopted. So, if the number of students, how many number of students will be admitted, that should be in line with the facilities available in the higher education institution and also the staff available in the institution. Then considerable care is needed in establishing new universities. This should be started only after adequate provision of funds, and when funds has been made for the purpose, then only it will be permitted uh, to establish new universities, and due care has been taken to ensure proper standards. The thought was very good at that time also. The proper standard you have to maintain, that was also there in the policy of 1968. And special attention should be given to the organization of postgraduate courses and to the improvement of standards of training and research at this level. Then center of advanced studies should be strengthened, and a small number of clusters of centers aimed at the highest possible standard in the research and training should be established. And there is a need to give increased support to research in universities, and the institution for research should function within the fold of universities or in intimate association with the university. Then facility for part-time education, correspondence course should be developed on a large scale at the university stage. So, out of these recommendations regarding higher education, some of the reforms were also proposed by 64-66, and also the national policy on education also included these type of things in the policy. But what happened in 1968 policy? What were the problems that arise in the for recommendation of education commission? So the situation what arise there, the admission according to infrastructure and capacity has not been possible. Good institutions have bloated a lot. Universities are being rather freely set up without ensuring adequate financial support. Postgraduate education and research have received some augmented support. Institutions for research have all been up outside the university, and interaction with the university is quite inadequate. So thought was very good. Thought was fine, but what happened in practical situation? These were some of the cases. What happened in the practical case? So that's why it was not successful at that time. So these were the problems. Then development of higher education, a policy framework that occurred in 1978. What happened there? The NEP 68 had proposed certain reforms in higher education which were either implemented slowly or there was some resistance to their implementation. The problem of raising standards in higher education defied all solutions that were tried. ଯାହା solution try କରାଯାଇଥିଲା ସବୁ କିଛି କାମ ଦେଲାନି ସେ ଟାଇମରେ. In the face of all these many more critical problems also arise, the University Grant Commission prepared a policy framework for development of higher education, and the document analyzed the different important problems here in 1978, and it was considered that the policy planners should evolve measures to tackle them in a priority basis, and the issues which are identified by UGC, these were the issues identified by UGC, that why the policy did not work, the 68 policy. For that purpose, an analysis framework was made in 1978, and that document was named as Development of Higher Education, a Policy Framework. And UGC find out that these are the problems. What is the problem? The role of university system in national development. This was a problem. Problem means, what is the meaning of it? Role of the university system in national development means national development was mentioned there in 64-66 commission also, but the thought which were there, that was not implemented in the field properly. There was problem, varieties of problem. And the next problem was guidelines for restricting access to higher education. से जो ओवर क्राउडिंग कथा मना कराइतला जोटी जे यू शुड अवॉइड ओवर क्राउडिंग तेणु गाइडलाइंस थिला टू एक्सेस टू हायर एजुकेशन समस्त मिलू नथला. देन मेजर्स फॉर इंप्रूवमेंट ऑफ स्टैंडर्ड्स, देन रिस्ट्रक्चरिंग ऑफ कोर्स रिस्ट्रक्चरिंग कथा कहला सेतरे प्रॉब्लम रहितला. पोस्ट ग्रेजुएट एंड रिसर्च प्रायोरिटी कथा कहला, बट एटी फील्ड रे फैकल्टी नथिले बा सिटी सी टाइप रो पिला आसु नथिले बा से बडा इंटरेस्ट देखौ नथिले जा पडले कि ताको हमें କରିପାରିଲୁନି. ଦେନ୍ ଡାଇଭର୍ସିଫିକେସନ୍ ଅଫ୍ କୋର୍ସର ଡାଇଭର୍ସିଫିକେସନ୍ କଥା ଚିନ୍ତା କରାଗଲା, ବଟ୍ ଆକ୍ଚୁଆଲି ପ୍ରାକ୍ଟିକାଲରେ ଆମର ଇନଫ୍ରାଷ୍ଟ୍ରକ୍ଚର ବା ଫ୍ୟାକଲ୍ଟି ସେ ଟାଇପ୍ର ରେଡ଼ି କରାଯାଇନଥିଲା. ତେଣୁ ଡିସେଣ୍ଟ୍ରାଲାଇଜେସନ୍ ଅଫ୍ କଣ୍ଟ୍ରୋଲ, ଦେନ୍ ଅଟୋନୋମସ୍ କଲେଜ ତିଆରି ହେଲା, କିଛିଟା ଏକାଡେମିକ୍ ଫ୍ରିଡମ୍ ଦିଆଗଲା, ଏ ମିଡିୟମ୍ ଅଫ୍ ଇନଷ୍ଟ୍ରକ୍ସନ୍ ବିଷୟରେ କିଛି କ୍ଲିୟର କଟ୍ ଇନଷ୍ଟ୍ରକ୍ସନ୍ ଦିଆ ହେଇନଥିଲା. ସୋ ଦିଜ୍ ୱେର୍ ସମ୍ ଅଫ୍ ଦ areas identified by UGC in this framework document that is in 1978. So you have here one question arises that you have to identify your causes. What is the reason for low standard of higher education? What are the reasons? Then you can think on this, or you can reflect on this type of question. What are the reasons? Now also what is prevailing there, and what was there in the policy 1948, 1964, 68? Then what were the lacunas there? Why whether these problems are solved till now or not, that you have to reflect by yourself. Then after 78, what happened in 1984? The National Commission on Teachers was formulated for higher education, but it was two steps were taken. One, a teacher commission for teachers of school level and teachers for higher education. Both are prepared there. The National Commission on Teachers for Higher Education, जोटा को हमें NCT 2 बोली कहले, was set up under the chairmanship of Professor Rais Ahmad to look into the various facets of higher education, especially concerning the teaching profession. The next is here, the recommendations of commission are significant in the sense that for the first time in the history of independent India, attention was given to the role of teachers in education. Then फोर ଯାଇକି ରୋଲ୍ ଅଫ୍ ଟିଚର୍ସ କଥା ଆମ ମାଇଣ୍ଡକୁ ଆସିଲା ଯେ ଟିଚର୍ସର ରୋଲ୍ ଇଜ୍ ଇମ୍ପୋର୍ଟାଣ୍ଟ। ଏତେ ସବୁ ଯେଉଁ ଫ୍ରେମୱାର୍କ କରାଗଲା ଏଇ ଫ୍ରେମୱାର୍କ ଗୁଡ଼ା ଦେଖାଗଲା ଯେତେବେଳେ କ୍ରିଟିକାଲ ଏନାଲିସିସ୍ କରାଗଲା ସେତେବେଳେ ଯାଇକି ଆମେ ଚିନ୍ତା କଲେ ଯେ ଆମର ଟିଚର କମିଶନ ହବା ଦରକାର ବୋଲି ଚିନ୍ତା କରାଗଲା। ରୋଲ୍ ଅଫ୍ ଟିଚର ଇଜ୍ ଇମ୍ପୋର୍ଟାଣ୍ଟ ବୋଲି ସେଇ ଟାଇମରେ ଯାଇକି ଚିନ୍ତା କରାଗଲା। And an in-depth analysis was undertaken about their status, work ethos, recruitment procedure, and other associated conditions. ତା ପୂର୍ବରୁ ନଥିଲା ତେଣୁ ଏଇସବୁ ଫେଲିୟର ଗୁଡ଼ାକ ଆଗକୁ ଦେଖିବା ପାଇଁ ମିଳିଥିଲା। So it was expected that the finding and recommendation of commission would provide the necessary inputs for the professionalization of higher education. So this was in the 1984 when teachers status and work ethos were emphasized. Okay, then next policy is your National Policy on Education 1986. But before 1986, in 1985, another document was prepared by critically analyzing the challenges. So that document was named as the Challenge of Education, a Policy Perspective 1985. ଯେତେବେଳେ ଗୋଟେ ପଲିସି ହୁଏ ତାର ଫେଲିୟର ତାର ଡ୍ରବ୍ୟାକ୍ସ ବାହାରିଲା ପରେ ଗୋଟେ ଏନାଲିସିସ୍ ରିପୋର୍ଟ ମଧ୍ୟ ଗୋଟେ ବାହାରେ ସେ ପଲିସି ରିପୋର୍ଟ ବାହାରିଲା 1985 ରେ. So the process initiated by the NCT, National Commission for Teachers, were carried further in 1985, and a comprehensive overview of the state of education in the country was carried out by the then Minister of Education. And the review document, which was entitled Challenges of Education, a Policy Perspective, represented an important stage in the process of evaluating the past performance and pointing out explicitly and various inadequacies and constraints operating on the education system to meet the aspiration of the masses and stated objective goals of higher education. So it was analyzed in this document, and the critical evaluation was also done, and the policy perspective was only unique but was of its own type in the history of independent India. ଏଇଭଳିଆ critical evaluation first time ବୋଧେ କରାହେଲା 1985 ରେ. So though the document was not intended to a policy statement, it is essential. Its essential purpose was to generate a nationwide debate, which was absolutely necessary to understand the perception of scholars, teachers, students, employers, and the general public at a large. This debate and discussion provided necessary policy inputs and facilitated the formulation of new education policy 1986. So it was first time in the history it happened. Before formation of a national policy on education, scholar, teacher, student, employer ସମସ୍ତଙ୍କ ପାଖରୁ view ନିଆଗଲା। ये ଗୋଟେ debate discussion ସବୁ level ରେ ଚାଲିଲା। level ରେ ଯେତେବେଳେ debate discussion ଚାଲିଲା ସେ ସମୟରେ different varieties of issues ସାମ୍ନାକୁ ଆସିଲା ପରେ ତା policy document 86 ରେ prepare କରାଯିବା ପାଇଁ ପୁଣି next decision ନିଆଗଲା। So ଏମାନଙ୍କର ଯୋଉ critical analysis କରାହେଲା ସେଥିରୁ କଣ ବାହାରିଲା ନା ଏଥିରେ ମଧ୍ୟ ସେ ସେମ୍ ପୂର୍ବରୁ ଯୋଉ ଡକୁମେଣ୍ଟ କହିଥିଲା 78 ସେଇ ଟାଇପ୍ର କିଛି ଫାଇଣ୍ଡିଙ୍ଗସ୍ ଆସିଲା ଏମାନଙ୍କ ପାଖରେ ଯେ କଣ ନା ଦ ଓଭରୱେଲମିଂ ଏକ୍ସପାନ୍ସନ୍ ଅଫ୍ ଏନରୋଲମେଣ୍ଟ ଏଟ୍ ଭେରିୟସ୍ ଷ୍ଟେଜେସ୍। ଏକାଥରେ ଆମେ ପ୍ଲାନ୍ କରିଦେଇଥିଲେ ଯେ ବହୁତ ସାରା ଆମେ ଏକ୍ସପାନ୍ସନ୍ କରିଦେବା, ଯେମିତି 64 66 କହିଲା ଯେ କ୍ୱାଣ୍ଟିଟେଟିଭ୍ ଆଣ୍ଡ କ୍ୱାଲିଟେଟିଭ୍ ଏକ୍ସପାନ୍ସନ୍। କ୍ୱାଲିଟେଟିଭ୍ ଏଜୁକେସନ୍ ହବ ଏଜ୍ ୱେଲ୍ ଏଜ୍ କ୍ୱାଣ୍ଟିଟେଟିଭ୍ ଏକ୍ସପାନ୍ସନ୍ ହବ ଏଜୁକେସନ୍ର। ତେଣୁ ଏଠି କ'ଣ ପ୍ରୋବ୍ଲେମ୍ ହେଲା, ଦ ଓଭରୱେଲମିଂ ଏକ୍ସପାନ୍ସନ୍ ଅଫ୍ ଏନରୋଲମେଣ୍ଟ ଭେରିୟସ୍ ଷ୍ଟେଜେସ୍ରେ ବହୁତ ବଢ଼େଇ ଦିଆଗଲା, କିନ୍ତୁ ଟିଚର ସାଇଡ୍ରେ ଏମ୍ଫାସିସ୍ ଦିଆଯାଇନଥିଲା, ଯୋଉଟାକି ପ୍ରୋବ୍ଲେମ୍ ବୋଲି ଜଣାପଡ଼ିଲା କ୍ରିଟିକାଲ୍ ଆନାଲିସିସ୍ରୁ। Then performance with respect to equality was less than satisfactory. Performance ମଧ୍ୟ ବହୁତ ଖରାପ ଥିଲା। The relevance of higher education and the growing unemployment, particularly among the higher education, continued to be an problem there. The declining standard of teaching, examination, research that was also came out declining standard teaching teacher to ଭଲ ନଥିଲେ teaching କୋଉଠି ଭଲ ହବ ତ examination କୋଉଠି ଭଲ ହବ ନା research କୋଉଠି ଭଲ ହବ then identification of factors which have inhibited the implementation of strategic reforms suggested by the earlier commission and found in the policy statement. So these were some of the drawbacks or the points which are found out from the critical analysis of the policy in 1985, and after that the national policy on education 1986 came into existence. So, based on the findings of National Commission for Teachers and critical assessment through challenges of education and the feedback obtained through nationwide debate seminar ଯାହା କରାହେଲା ଯେତିକି ଆସିଲା feedback ତାକୁ ନେଇକି NEP 86 ଆମର ଆସିଲା କୋର୍ସକୁ ଆସିଲା. And what were the major objectives of NEP 86? NEP 86 ର major objective କ'ଣ ଥିଲା ନା to prepare Indian people and nation to face the challenges of 21st century. 21st century କଥା ଆମେ ଏବେ ଖାଲି NEP 2020 ରେ କହୁନୁ, ଇଏ କଥା 86 ରୁ ମଧ୍ୟ କୁହାଗଲାଣି ଯେ we will prepare our people for the 21st century. Okay, then taking note of major technological changes and the critical role of human resources, both as producer as well as users of technological innovation for raising the quality of life. It emphasized that investment in the overall development of human resources is not negotiable. So, if you will look into the policy document of NEP 86, New Education Policy 86, or National Education Policy 86, you can find it has three parts mainly: the introduction part, and what is the role of education, then national system of education, like this, it has been divided. Then also part 4 is also there, part 5, so it is divided into mostly 5 parts. So you can find the part 5, organization of education at different stages, education for equality, all these things are there, and it is in this context that a new ministry ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆସିଲା ଆମର human resource development ର ये कौन recommendation कला. The NEP 86 reiterates and suggests new initiative in areas of autonomy in universities and colleges and decentralized planning and management. Decentralization କଥା ବହୁତ ପୂର୍ବରୁ ମଧ୍ୟ କୁହାଯାଉଥିଲା, କିନ୍ତୁ ଏବେ କ'ଣ ହେଲା ନା ଇଏ decentralized planning and management କଥା ଏଠି ପଲିସିରେ ଆସିଲା ଯେ ଅଟୋନମି ଦିଆଯିବ. ଅଟୋନମିରେ ପୁଣି ନ୍ୟୁ ସଜେସନ ସେଠି ଦିଆଗଲା ଯେ ଖାଲି ଅଟୋନମି ଦେଇକି ଆମେ ଛାଡ଼ି ପାରିବାନି, ଏଠି ଆଉ କିଛି ନ୍ୟୁ ସଜେସନ ମଧ୍ୟ ଏଣ୍ଟର କରାଗଲା. ଆଣ୍ଡ ଡିସେଣ୍ଟ୍ରାଲାଇଜଡ ପ୍ଲାନିଂ ଆଣ୍ଡ ମ୍ୟାନେଜମେଣ୍ଟ, ସେଣ୍ଟ୍ରାଲାଇଜଡ କରିଦେଇକି ଅଟୋନମି ଦେଇଦେଲେ ସେଟା ପ୍ରୋବ୍ଲେମ ହଉଥିଲା, ଯାହାକୁ କି ଡିସେଣ୍ଟ୍ରାଲାଇଜ କରିବାର ପ୍ଲାନ୍ କରାଗଲା. The policy has also emphasized the role of open learning system in enlarging opportunities for higher education. And the important part of the policy statement is the emphasis on making the system work. If education is to meet the future challenge, the phrase what is there, all teachers should teach and all students learn, become highly important. The strategy in this regard consists of some strategy we are developed. एंकर problem थिला कोन ना से कहले जे आमे जदि फ्यूचर चैलेंज को मीट करिया पई चाहूछु ताहले आमे एभळा किछि काम करिवा जे all teachers should teach and all teachers students should learn. जोटा एबे हमको लागुछि जे this may not be a practical phrase. Practical phrase एटा नथिला बळे एबे फील होचे मु सुनिला बेलकु जे all teachers should teach and all teachers students should learn. तो सेति पई जेटी स्ट्रेटजी किंतु डेवलप करथले से माने किछि जे जो स्ट्रेटजी गुडा कोन कोन ना बेटर डील टू टीचर्स एंड ग्रेटर अकाउंटेबिलिटी. जोटा कि सेतबेले डिसाइड कराइला जे एकाउंटेबिलिटी दिया जो टीचर माननको यदि स्टूडेंट ପାଇଁ टीचर एकाउंटेबल होची ताले मे बी एटा हेई पारे बोली ए स्ट्रेटजी डिसाइड कराइला नेक्स्ट स्ट्रेटजी नियाइला प्रोविजन ऑफ improved student services and insistence on observance of accepted norms of behavior स्टूडेंट मानक स्टूडेंट सर्विस को आम इम्प्रूव कर जो उपाय करा चिंता कराला देन प्रोविजन ऑफ बेटर फैसिलिटीज टू द इंस्टीट्यूशंस किंतु एठी केते गुडा को टर्म थिला स्ट्रेटजी डेवलप कराला बट एठी प्रॉब्लम कोन थिला प्रॉब्लम थिला देखंतु एठी जो टर्म गुडा को से यूज करछि बेटर फैसिलिटीज टू द इंस्टीट्यूशन तो क्लियर प्लान बा क्लियरली डिफाइन कराइ नथिला एगुडा creating a system of performance appraisal of institution according to standard and norms set up at the national level तेणु परफॉर्मेंस अप्रेजल कथा सेबेटू कहला 1986 रु बट फील्ड रे इंप्लीमेंट होआ पे एबे जो हम आउट के पूर्व डिस्कशन करते नाक कथा नाक जो डिस्कशन होतला से एठी जाई कि सेल्फ अप्रेजल कथा हमर आसिला कि ता पूर्व 86 पॉलिसी रु से सेल्फ अप्रेजल बा क्रिएटिंग ए सिस्टम ऑफ परफॉर्मेंस अप्रेजल ऑफ इंस्टीट्यूशन अकॉर्डिंग टू स्टैंडर्ड्स एंड नॉर्म्स सेट अप एट द नेशनल लेवल कथा बोली सिटी कोआइतला स्ट्रेटजी रे then to achieve excellence in higher education involves strengthening of infrastructure modernization and change in curricula and raising the quality and performance of teachers these uh, five things has been decided strengthening infrastructure modernization change in curriculum and raise the quality of performance of teacher and all these reforms cannot be carried out without adequate provision of resources amaro joti ki problem amaro eta hochi resources ro problem resource mobilization ro problem so the goal and objective of education can only be realized if sufficient investment in education and at par with the dimension of task is made जति हम sufficient provision करिवा resource रो दरकार हमको ताले investment मध्ये सेति sufficient हमको education रे करिवा दरकार otherwise resource कोड आसीबो तो ए So the Education Commission 64 had raised three major issues related to financing of education in India. तो फाइनेंसिंग आमे काइन करि पारनु ताको तारो तीनटा इश्यू रेज करथिला के 64 66 कमिशन कौन कौन इश्यू रेज करथिला से फाइनेंसिंग पई हमर प्रॉब्लम कोन ना व्हाट शुड बी द टोटल लेवल ऑफ फाइनेंशियल सपोर्ट फॉर एजुकेशन what guidelines can be formulated about the distribution of funds between different level of education what proportion of total resource should be broadly devoted to improvement of quality and consolidation and expansion of education तो तीनटा इश्यू जहाँ भी तक मिलता 1964 कमिशन को से कहला जे हमरो आमे निजे डिसाइड करि पारनु जे व्हाट टोटल फाइनेंशियल सपोर्ट एजुकेशन को केते दिया जिवो गाइडलाइंस कौन रहिबो गाइडलाइंस किए फॉर्मुलेट करिवो केमिति फॉर्मुलेट करिवो कोन पई ना हमरो फंड्स डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन पई गाइडलाइंस मध्ये ठीक भाबरे फॉर्मुलेट हे पार नथला डिफरेंट लेवल को कोडा केते दिया जिवो हम प्राइमरी को केते हायर को केते एवळा केते प्लेसमेंट करबा हम जणा नथला what proportion of total resource should be broadly devoted to improvement of quality पई केते जेतु 64 कमिशन कहितला qualitative and quantitative expansion तेणु ये क्वालिटी पई केते दबो क्वांटिटी पई केते दबो से कथा गुडी को क्लियरली किछि कोटी मेंशन हेई नथला बा जणा नथला तो दीज वर द सम ऑफ द ड्रॉबैक्स इन फाइनेंसिंग एजुकेशन इन इंडिया बोली 64 कमिशन को आइडेंटिफाई करथिले The analysis of educational expenditure also showed that education got 1.2% of the total analysis of education national income in 1951 51 रे ताको 1.2% दिया होतला एजुकेशन को 1.9% तापर कराला तापर 2.9% at the end of third plan. Based on the likely developments in the field of education, the Education Commission 64 had recommended that a minimum level of 6% of national income should be spent on education, and this figure has been accepted by the parliament in the educational policy resolution 1968 रे एटा approve हेयैतला accept हेयैतला जे 6% education उपरे spend करा जिवो बोली. ତାହେଲେ 86 ପଲିସି ପରେ ଆପଣଙ୍କର ଗୋଟେ ହେଲା ରିଭାଇଜ୍ଡ ଏଜୁକେସନ ପଲିସି 1992 ଆସିଲା. ତ ଏଇଥିରେ ଯୋଉ ରେକମେଣ୍ଡେସନ୍ସ ରହିଲା ୟା ଭିତରେ ନ୍ୟାସନାଲ ସିଷ୍ଟମ ଅଫ ଏଜୁକେସନ ଏହାର ମେଜର ଏରିଆ ଥିଲା ଯେ ନ୍ୟାସନାଲ ସିଷ୍ଟମ ଅଫ ଏଜୁକେସନ ଯୋଉଟା କି ଆମର ଏଚିଭ୍ ହେଇପାରିନଥିଲା 64 66 ଯେତେବେଳେ କହିଥିଲା. ତ ନ୍ୟାସନାଲ ସିଷ୍ଟମ ଅଫ ଏଜୁକେସନରେ କଣ ରେକମେଣ୍ଡେସନ ୟାର ରହିଥିଲା ନା ଦ କନସେପ୍ଟ ଅଫ ନ୍ୟାସନାଲ ସିଷ୍ଟମ ଅଫ ଏଜୁକେସନ ୱାଜ ରେଜ୍ଡ ଇନ୍ ଦିସ୍ ପଲିସି and all the student is irrespective of caste, creed, region, religion, sex, and have access to education of a comparable quality. Then common educational structure, that is your 10 plus 2 plus 3 structure. Then national curriculum framework should be there. The national curriculum framework will be based on the national goal and common core along with other components that are flexible. So national curricular framework कथा मध्ये सेठी recommend करायतला. Then international understanding उपरे मध्ये emphasis दिया गला. Education has to motivate the younger generation for international cooperation and peaceful coexistence and treat the whole world as one family. And equal opportunities मध्ये ଗୋଟେ recommendationଥିଲା. Equal opportunity is necessary to promote equality for all, not only in access but also in the conditions for success. Equal opportunity କଥା କହିଥିଲା ଯୋଉଟାକୁ ଏବେ equity ବୋଲି ଆମେ କହୁଛୁ ଯେ so such type of awareness of giving equal opportunity will be created through the core curriculum. How you will create all these things, everything is based on the depend on the curriculum. And if you can say it not only depend on the curriculum but actually it depends on the transaction process also, but here it has been thought that such type of awareness will be created through core curriculum which help to remove prejudices and complexes so that we can um, uh, apply this equal opportunity recommendation. Then understand diverse culture of India, and it also recommended that some steps will be taken to foster among students an understanding of the diverse cultural and social system of people living in different part of the country. Then it also suggested some steps will be taken in the promotion of national pride. The young will be encouraged to undertake the rediscovery of India, each in his own image and perception. Then promotion of language policy city kuagala head jo drawbacks roila eti madhya promotion of language kotha kuagala. So beside the promotion of the link language, programs will also be launched to increase the translation of books from one language to another and to publish multilingual dictionaries and glossaries. Then facilitate inter-regional mobility. Then research and development will be emphasized. Provide resource support. The nation will assume the responsibility of providing resource support for implementing the program of educational transformation, reducing disparities, universalization of elementary education, adult literacy, scientific technological research. So this type of resource support um, will be given for implementing the program. This was also recommended in that national policy. The lifelong education is a goal of educational process, and opportunities will be provided to the youth, housewife, agriculture, industrial worker, professionals to continue the education of their choice at their own pace. So that's why lifelong education by distance education କଥା ଆସିଲା. Then institution strengthen the national system of education. को माने को institution को से recommend करथिले, and the institution which strengthen and give shape to the national system of education are the UGC, जो बॉडी गुड़ाक आम पढ़ी सारे, यूजीसी, एआईसीटी, आईकार, आईएमसी. All these bodies are responsible for strengthening the national system of education. Integrated planning will be instituted among all the bodies so as to establish functional linkage and reinforce programs of research and postgraduate education. And these, together with the National Council of Research and Training NCRT, NIPA, and also Institute of Science and Technology Education will be involved in implementing the educational policy. So all these bodies we are given some power, and also they were thought to develop the strengthen the national system of education. Okay. Then, before moving to the program of action 1992, we will see what are the drawbacks or demerits of the new education policy 86, so that it is revised in the 1992. The some of the demerits are like your neighborhood school has been completely neglected. से जो पूरा common school system कहला गोटे neighborhood school रो concept मध्ये से थिला जोटा को neglect करा हैतला totally. Silence over public school and their commercialization, no check on minority school and their exploitation, too much of expectation from community help, basic education neglected school stage, no mention of increasing working hour in school for optimum utilization. So these are some of the demerits of national policy of education 86. So the program of action 92, revised education policy 92 came into existence. So what happened there? The national government came to power at the center in 1889, and it formed an education committee under the chairmanship of से the 89 ଟା ଆସୁ ଗୋଟେ committee formation କରିଥିଲା ଯୋଉଟାକୁ କୁହାଉଥିଲା under the chairmanship of Sarvodaya leader Professor Ram Murthy to review and revise the national policy on education NEP 86 implemented by the central government. It may be that already it is stated in 1986 policy that the implementation and parameters of the new policy must be reviewed every 5 years. So it was written there. The implementation was reviewed by two committee. One committee was your Ramurthy committee 1990, and another committee was Janardhan committee 91 to 92. So accordingly, the National Policy of Education 86 was revised in 1992. Final revision यार करा हला दीटा कमिटी ताको रिवाइज कले गोटे 90 रे राममूर्ति कमिटी 99 90 ରୁ 91 and next committee Janardhan committee 91 ରୁ 92 होते ताको रिवाइज कले. The Ramurthy committee was appointed in 1990 and it submitted its report to the Minister of State in the Ministry of MHRD on December 26, 1990, and that report was tabled in the Parliament on January 9, 91. And what was the purpose of Ramurthy Committee? The Ramurthy Committee's purpose was to examine the old education policies and to suggest new measures for promoting industrialization and development of rural areas, and to suggest suitable measures for decentralization of the educational system. Then what were the recommendations of Ramurthy committee? So what is there in program of action 92? Finally, it is the result of this Ramurthy committee and Janardhan Reddy committee report. So what are the recommendations of Ramurthy committee? Ramurthy committee has recommendations like your on common school system. The committee recommended the development of the common school system for securing equity and social justice in education in both public and private sector. Second recommendation was like remove disparities in education. So, disparity means there is disparity among the disadvantaged groups like your SC, ST, women, educationally backward minorities, handicapped. So, you have to remove these disparities. This was the recommendation. Then, vocationalization. The committee also recommended the starting of school education with vocational as well as non vocational components. Then decentralized planning and management of education. Same things are repeated again and again in every policy, but why it is repeated, we do not know now. The management of education should be decentralized from center to state, from the state to district, and district to block like this. Then universalization of elementary education, then autonomous college. It also recommended that autonomous colleges should be established according to the direction of University Grant Commission. The National Testing Service, that the National Testing Service should be established for development and research. Adult education should be encouraged through special programs for developing social skills by the Ministry of Human Resource Development. The committee also suggested that good and relevant training on the basis of skills to be provided to the teachers through teacher education program. And in-service training also should be provided and it should be experience oriented. Then women education should be promoted to for equality. Then value education should create work culture at all stages to guide our behavior and put meaning into our existence. Then scholarship should be provided to the economically weaker sections. Then the committee also recommended that the fee at the higher educational institution must be increased and the fee for examination should also be increased in order to face the cost of education. So these were some of the recommendations of Ramurthy committee. Then 92 report of Janardhan Reddy committee, and Jonathan Reddy committee was appointed by the CAB, Central Advisory Board of Education, and it recommended that the same type of things also it recommended, but some more things are there like your uh, common school system was there. The committee and then Navodaya Vidyalayas, establishment of Navodaya Vidyalayas. The committee recommended that the Navodaya school should be established in all the district of each and every state of the country, and all districts should be covered by the end of 8th plan. The next, universal education. The education for all should be encouraged and provision for free education for all children should be included in our constitution. Then secondary education ପାଇଁ ବି କିଛି recommendation ଥିଲା ଯେମିତି 10+2+3 qualitative improvement, modernization, diversification, like this. University education ପାଇଁ କ'ଣ ଥିଲା ନା expansion of institution and redesigning of course, proposal for establishing accreditation and assessment council, establishment of state council of higher education to minimize expenditure on establishment of new colleges, optimum utilization of existing infrastructure in universities, autonomous colleges and departments are to be established, promotion of science education, research, NCC programs in universities should be encouraged. This was for the university education. Then what about open education? Now each state should establish an open university. Electronic media progressively involved in expansion of open learning. Indira Gandhi National Open University IGNOU has set up a distance education council. So it has also recommended on teachers training, on women education, education for SC/ST, education for handicap, early childhood care and education, vocational education, technical education, physical education. In every area it has examination, rural institution, delinking degree from jobs. uh, ये ମଧ୍ୟ ଗୋଟେ important recommendation ଥିଲା ସେ time ରେ financial provision. So like this, these are the recommendation of the two committees and in the program of action. So program of action 92, what it says na, ये जो state council of higher education, autonomous college, redesigning of course, measure of improvement of quality of research, promotion of student, research promotion of student, teacher mobility, research recommendation, setting up a monitoring and review mechanism. Like this, all these things are mentioned in the 1992 policy or program of action. Then what happened after 1992? After 1992, also there is a report called as Ambani Billa report, and it has also some recommendations. Okay, only in 2000. Then after that you can jump to 2020 directly. NEP 2020. What NEP 2020 recommended on higher education? Ambani Billa report was published in 2000, and special there is a need to evaluate the utility of current art and science course in prevailing scenario. The private institutions should be encouraged to establish science and technology institution. There should be no funding from government to these institutions. Then all courses from UG level, undergraduate level, should have a module on entrepreneurship. Continuous learning should be made mandatory for all teachers in higher education on a periodic basis. ସେଥିପାଇଁ ସବୁ academic staff college କରାଯାଇଥିଲା ବୋଧେ ଏହା recommendation ଉପରେ. The institution should be rated by independent agencies. The process should be analogous to the credit rating for financial instrument. All institutions failing the minimal quality test to be given a pre-specified time to improve, and failing which these are de-recognized. The university governance structure should be compact and effective, and the university administration should be effectively decentralized and based on the latest information technology technique. The course of study should be flexible to encourage the students to choose the variety of subjects in tune with their strength and market demand. And this report also discussed some other aspect like your government control, foreign direct investment, financing, marketing, Indian education. Like this, it has also these aspects are also emphasized in this report. And the government control. What should be the government control? The education sector in India is mostly controlled by the government, and the whole mindset is on the grant and aids. Arising out of this mindset of rules and regulation, there are too many bodies managing education. So the whole system needs to be overhauled. Institutions that do not depend on the government for funding or have low level of funding must have operational freedom and flexibility to innovate. Management of education must be decentralized. So government control ଉପରେ ସେମାନେ ଏତିକି କଥା ଏଇ ସବୁ recommendation କହିଥିଲେ. Foreign direct investment ଉପରେ ସେ କହିଲେ that the report also recommended for first time that the direct investment in education, which it stated will improve standard and quality of education. The foreign investment will improve the quality of education, and it can facilitate global integration of Indian education, which even today is not accepted, but it is suggested in NEP 2020. And what is about financing? The privatization of higher education and professional education can relieve government funding from these areas, which can be used for primary education and improving literacy. Okay. Then how to marketing do marketing of Indian education abroad. So there is a good market for Indian education in Asia, Africa, South America, East Europe. Our cost level will easily be less than one fourth of those in the developed world in the comparable quality. Quality ଅନୁସାରେ ଆକୁଛି କିନ୍ତୁ ଏବେ ଇଣ୍ଡିଆ ସେଥିପାଇଁ କ୍ୱାଲିଟି ଏନହାନ୍ସ କରିବା ପାଇଁ ସେ ଯେଉଁ ଲର୍ଣ୍ଣିଂ ଆଉଟକମ୍ ତାର ଡିସାଇଡ୍ କରାଯାଇଛି ଯେ ହାଉ ଟୁ ଟେକ୍ ପାର୍ଟ ଇନ୍ ଦ international standard. So this is all about the policy perspective in higher education, Indian higher education. Then there is some highlight points of National Education Policy 2020 regarding higher education. This is the recent policy, so you should know this. Quality universities and colleges need to be established. Institutional restructuring and consolidation is needed. Move towards a more holistic and multidisciplinary education. Student support system need to be created. Then development of motivated, energized and capable faculties. Equity and inclusion in higher education, teacher education, vocational education, quality academic research, transforming regulatory system of higher education. If you will look in detail in the to the recommendations of this policy in higher education, then you can better understand the details and what is there in NEP 2020, whether it is there in the previous policies or not, you can find it out. Okay, so this is all about the provisions of policy perspectives. The next we will proceed to the higher education through the 5 year plans. 5 year plan रे हमरो कौन कौन हेतिला सब. So 5 year plan हमें next class रे start करिया हम भाबुची.
मैडम नमस्कार.
नमस्कार.
मैडम से जे आई कार्ड कहउछन्ती सेटा कोनटा कि
काली क्लास जॉइन करथिले.
आज्ञा
ICAR ये जो एग्रीकल्चरल रिसर्च होची इंडियन काउंसिल फॉर एग्रीकल्चरल रिसर्च. इंडियन काउंसिल ऑफ एग्रीकल्चरल रिसर्च एगुड़ा सब कौन आईकार जो आम कहले आईकार MCI एगुड़ा सब है कोऑर्डिनेटिंग बॉडीज हायर एजुकेशन डिफरेंट कोऑर्डिनेटिंग बॉडीज जमी मेडिकल काउंसिल ऑफ इंडिया अच्छी आमर अच्छी UGC यूनिवर्सिटी ग्रांट कमिशन सेमती केते गुड़ाक बॉडी सजेस्ट कराइला आम जितेबाला जो एंट्री है आम गत काली डिस्कशन करते कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल प्रोविजन फॉर इंडियन हायर एजुकेशन रे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल प्रोविजन जिते करागला सेठी गोटे एंट्री 66 थिला जो कि डिसाइड करागला जे किछि UGC सहित आउ किछि बॉडीज रहिले ता सहित जो गुडा कि हेले मेडिकल काउंसिल ऑफ इंडिया, बार काउंसिल ऑफ इंडिया, नर्सिंग काउंसिल ऑफ इंडिया, इंडियन काउंसिल ऑफ एग्रीकल्चरल एंड रिसर्च ताको आईकार कहूचे हमें आई माने मु शॉर्ट फॉर्म कहली आईकार ICAR. फार्मासी काउंसिल ऑफ इंडिया, इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ आर्किटेक्ट, इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ अकाउंटेंसी ये सब बॉडी गुड़ाक डिसाइड कराला एंट्री 66 रे जे ये सब प्रोविजन गुड़ाक रहिबो. अदर प्रोविजन also in the constitution which empower the center to establish such professional bodies. एमान सब गोटे गोटे प्रोफेशनल बॉडी जो माने से मान को कंट्रोल करन जेमती हमर UGC हायर एजुकेशन को कंट्रोल करछि तार कंट्रोलिंग बॉडी एमान को में स्टैट्यूटरी बॉडी आ गोटे नॉन स्टैट्यूटरी बॉडी बोली काली डिस्कशन करथिले. स्टैट्यूटरी बॉडी सेते बेले थिला कोटा UGC थिला AICTE थिला. AICTE टा कोन ऑल इंडिया काउंसिल फॉर टीचर एजुकेशन AICTE से माने कोटा को देखिबे ना से माने देखिबे इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज जते टेक्निकल कॉलेज जते रहला सब ता अंडर रे आसी. एग्रीकल्चर रिलेटेड जते कॉलेज रहला से आईकार अंडर रे आसीला. ନ୍ୟାସନାଲ୍ କାଉନସିଲ୍ ଫର୍ ଟିଚର୍ ଏଜୁକେସନ୍ ଯେଉଁ NCT ରହିଲା, ସିଏ ଟିଚର୍ ଏଜୁକେସନ୍ ପ୍ରୋଗ୍ରାମର ସବୁ ଡିସାଇଡ୍ କଲା। ସୋ ଏମାନେ ସବୁ ଏପେକ୍ସ ବଡି ହିସାବରେ ରହିଲେ, ଷ୍ଟାଚ୍ୟୁଟରୀ ନନ୍ ଷ୍ଟାଚ୍ୟୁଟରୀ। କିନ୍ତୁ ଏବେ ସେମାନଙ୍କୁ ବି ଷ୍ଟାଚ୍ୟୁଟରୀ କରିଦିଆଯାଇଛି। NCT ଏଗୁଡ଼ା ସବୁ ଷ୍ଟାଚ୍ୟୁଟରୀ ବଡି ହେଇଗଲାଣି ଏବେ। ଫାଷ୍ଟ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଏଣ୍ଟ୍ରି କରାଗଲା କନଷ୍ଟିଟ୍ୟୁସନାଲ ପ୍ରୋଭିଜନ ଅନୁସାରେ ଏଗୁଡ଼ା ସବୁ ନନ୍ ଷ୍ଟାଚ୍ୟୁଟରୀ ବଡି ହିସାବରେ ରଖା ହେଇଥିଲା। ଫାଷ୍ଟ UGC କୁ ଷ୍ଟାଚ୍ୟୁଟରୀ ବଡି, AICT କୁ ଷ୍ଟାଚ୍ୟୁଟରୀ ବଡି କରାହେଇଥିଲା। ବୁଝିଲ? ଓକେ।
ଆଜ୍ଞା, ଥ୍ୟାଙ୍କ ୟୁ ମ୍ୟାଡ଼ାମ।
ଓକେ, ତାହେଲେ ଆମେ ନେକ୍ସଟ ଟାଇମ୍ ଭାବୁଛି ନେକ୍ସଟ ଆଉ କାହିଁକି ଆରମ୍ଭ କରିବା, ଏବେ କାଲି ଆରମ୍ଭ କରିବା ହାୟର ଏଜୁକେସନ ଥ୍ରୁ 5 ଇୟର ପ୍ଲାନ୍ସରେ କ'ଣ କ'ଣ ଥିଲା ପ୍ରୋଭିଜନ। ଓକେ, ତାହେଲେ ଏଣ୍ଡ କରିବା ଏଇଠି। ଆଉ କାହାରି କିଛି ପଚାରିବାର ଅଛି? Okay, then we will meet tomorrow. Thank you.